Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to week 6. Thank you for your patience and understanding with the postponement last week. As a result, that means that our final class is going to be on December 1st. So I hope that you're all able to still make it. If not, these sessions are being recorded, and so you'll have access to the recording. I'd like to start out by acknowledging that I am here and PAFNW is located within the unceded ancestral and traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And pardon me, I don't think Musqueam calls themselves a nation, but the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, pardon me. And I invite you to connect to the land, whether it is on Coast Salish territory or wherever you may be right now, and taking a moment to reflect on our shared responsibility to nurture and protect the land. And also just maybe some gratitude for all that the land and Mother Earth provides for us. And then I also invite you to take a moment to connect inwards and connect to yourself, and maybe just check in internally with how you're feeling in this moment so that you can have a deeper awareness to what you may need throughout our journey, whether that is to have your camera off or whether that is to be vocal and to use your voice and be heard. So taking a moment to check in with where you're at, how you're feeling in this moment, and then also to take a deep breath and to nourish yourself with some fresh oxygen, and then maybe take a deep exhalation and release any tension that you might be carrying or anything that doesn't serve you in this moment, so that we can be present here with each other. So I thank you all so much for being here. It brings me so much joy to connect with you. And I'm extra joyful tonight because I get to nerd out about grants. And it is something that is typically seen as like hard work, maybe burdensome. Is that a word? Burdensome, like as a burden. But once I got through these blockages, these barriers around my beliefs around what it was and my experience, it actually became a very sacred, prayerful practice for me. And in speaking about it with other people, that's not a common perspective. And so I wish to share that with you so that it could serve you. And I'm laughing, Adele's written Jessica's superpower. So hopefully it's a collective superpower. I'm so passionate about this because I'm so passionate about everyone having the accessibility and the possibility to express your unique expression and share that, because it's such a gift, it's medicine. And so for you to have the ability to support yourself, support your projects, and to feel confident that that is something that is available to you, to throw out this cliche of the starving artist, and that is this false belief, and it doesn't have to be that way. So we need to deprogram our beliefs around how abundant and flourishing we can be as creatives. And in my experience, that when you're doing the thing you're meant to be doing, then your spirit really comes alive and you are so supported on your path. And so your ancestors and spirit guides and creator are just like, yeah, you're doing it. And you defying the perception that we have to be struggling and grinding and suffering or broke and whatever those false beliefs are. So I am here to passionately support reframing that, while also providing some foundational pragmatic tools. So from the both perspectives, from this sacred prayerful practice of connecting to your dreams and it being like a vision quest, a modern day vision quest, and also for it to be this very tangible and very specific and structured practice. So we have the balance of both coming into harmony, and then you get to create whatever you want, hopefully. So I am going to screen share the presentation. Nope, not there. Where'd it go? So I have too many tabs open. And okay, there's that, there's that. Okay, thank you for your patience there. So I just got rolling. I was so excited. So we've already done the land acknowledgement. And let's make that bigger. Okay. And so a reminder, as always, that the session is being recorded and that the recording will be shared publicly on PAFNW's YouTube channel, and that by continuing in this meeting, you consent to be recorded. You're welcome, of course, to have your camera turned off if you desire. And consent is ongoing and fluid. So everything that I say is an invitation. And if there's anything that you are not feeling and doesn't resonate with you, then you can just say pass. And I respect your boundaries. And so I wanted to also acknowledge that sometimes we're going to do a breakout room tonight. Hopefully we'll have time for that. And if you aren't feeling social, then you don't feel like sharing in a breakout room, then you can stay back in the main room. So there's always an option to give yourself and what you need and to participate as much as possible or as little as desired. And that you can change your mind. So that consent is ongoing and fluid. So this week, I'm gonna cover a lot. And that date is incorrect. And so I apologize in the email I sent out earlier if that confused anyone. It is the 24th. And so, and we're focusing on manifesting prayers into reality through the grant proposal writing practice. So we're gonna quickly review the week 5 assignment, get into the grant proposal writing. So what are grants, acquiring funding, how grants can help, goal setting, connecting to what you want and how you wish to feel. And I'll explain that. And then planning, timelines, budgets, the application process. And I'm actually going to take you into one of my grant portals and show you what it's like in there. And then we'll have a break time. So hopefully we'll get through all that in the hour, we'll see. And then we'll have a break and come back, and we're going to do a visualization meditation so that you can connect to your own dreams of what you might want to create and write a grant application for at some point. And then we're just going to do some quick writing about your visualization and project idea. And then you get to share that in the breakout rooms. And then we will go over the week 6 homework assignment. And then I didn't pop it in here, but I'll also talk about your optional final presentations next week. So week 5 assignment review. You were invited to find 3 exhibition opportunities or residencies which apply to your personal creative practice and potentially begin to apply one of them. And you're invited to share that in the Mighty Network, the 3 opportunities that you found. And then to specify which one you chose to apply for and why. And again, these are prompts to get you going on that journey. But if you're not there yet, it's okay. I love seeing it, and I reflect on it and maybe give you some comments or some support with that. And some folks are emailing me and not putting it in the network and because have questions. And so I know I don't want to single anyone out, but Coco, I got your email and you're talking about letters of support. So someone's already looking at applying for a grant, which is awesome. And others, that might not be something that you do for years. And so if you haven't done the homework assignments, I know some of you have been apologizing to me. It's okay that there's a lot of information here and it will integrate, and some of it will be applicable to your journey and some of it won't. So no apology necessary. But again, I love to see your contributions. Okay. Did anyone have any questions, comments about this, about the week 5 optional assignment? Okay.
I actually have a question. Do you have any resources, like lists of places that do residencies often within Canada?
In the grant portal, not the grant, well, I'm in the future. I'm so excited about these grants. In the Mighty Network, if you go through the, what are they called? The lessons. So if you go to week 5 and in the lessons, all the links that I talked about during class, they're in there and you can click on them, as opposed to like accessing the PDF of the presentation and the links aren't functional. So I've popped them in there. Yeah. And so I think it's ResArtis, RESARTIS.com, and it's international residencies. I don't know if there's one of within Canada, but yeah, that's the one. But also there are some like that have come to me that I don't go on there. I have never applied for a residency, but actually right before that, somebody emailed me a residency. And so I actually applied for one. And so I did the whole process. And so I don't know, that's through like an individual arts council. So there's lots of like opportunities that are kind of hidden away in pockets, and they'll just come to you when they're meant to, how they're meant to. But I want to start with the first interdisciplinary arts course I taught. I was just emailing out the class whenever I saw something that was cool. And so I'm going to start a mailing list personally, because I'm not sure what's going on with my role at PAFNW, just due to funding. But I'm going to start a mailing list because I see these things all the time and I get so excited about them that if you want to hear about them, you can join this mailing list and I'll just blast out art opportunities as I see them. So
yes, thank you.
Yeah, be continued. Okay, grants, what are they? A grant is a financial award by an entity, often a public body, a charitable foundation, a specialized grant-making institution, or the government, which gives to an individual or another entity. And so another entity, usually a nonprofit organization, sometimes a business or local government body, with the singular purpose of furthering the execution of a project that will be beneficial to the individual, the public, and the goals of that entity. Unlike loans, grants are not to be paid back. Unlike cash donations, which can be used by the recipient for any purpose without any specifications on how to use it, grants have specific stipulations set by the granting entity. So in general, a grant is money given to a person, a business, a local government, or other organization, which is designated for a specific purpose, which does not need to be repaid. So There are grants for all sorts of things, but we are talking about artist grants. And so this is, in a broader sense, all about grants, but artist grants are their own little special, wonderful niche. So acquiring funding. Getting grant funding requires that you obtain, fill, and submit an application along with any other relevant paperwork that may be needed, such as a letter of intent, a letter of support, and financial documents. So a letter of intent would be a letter that is describing your intention of what you want to do with that grant. And a letter of support is a letter from someone who supports your creative practice and your project. That might not be actual, like, active physical support. It might just be like emotional support, like, yes, I know this person and I believe in them and I support this project with my heart. And so if you in your grant are applying for something and you have a mentor who's helping out, or a bunch of other artists supporting you, or you've partnered with an institution or an organization, then it might be beneficial for your letter of support to come from one of them. And if it's a solo project or they're not available, it's okay to have it come from somewhere else. But if it's someone in the arts, it's probably stronger. Not to say that there's a hierarchy there. And then financial documents, that would mostly be for an organization. So I've applied for grants for PAFNW, and sometimes they ask for financial documents of the organization to prove their financial standing. And because there's different criteria where organizations that have a certain amount of profit, it's a nonprofit, have a certain amount of money fit into different tiers. So that might not be applicable to you unless you are working for an organization or you have founded an organization. But I won't go too much into that. We're going to focus on individual artists here. So you'll also need to pass the eligibility criteria, as well as demonstrate adequate knowledge, interests, and capability in the field for which the grant is to be given. And so I'll get into that a bit more when we go into the portal, but often there's criteria that is for individual artists, arts collectives, and arts organizations, or organizations that have arts as part of their mandate. Like PAFNW is not an arts organization, but we definitely have arts and culture as a lot of our offerings and it's part of our mandate. So we're able to apply for arts organizations grants. So you are going to definitely fall under the individual artist category. You may fall under the collectives category if you're part of an arts collective, and organizations, again, not going to talk too much about that, but that could be something that applies. And then there will be a shortlisting process in which the eventual recipient and recipients, some grants, most grants, they're going to give funds to more than one person. And so there'll be a shortlisting process in which the eventual recipients of the grant will be chosen. So does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Grants, how can they help? So I kind of went into this before, but you get to visualize, budget, and plan the details of a creative project, which is catered to your own unique needs, desires, and dreams. So that is really exciting to me. You're essentially calling your prayers into reality through a systematic visualization and manifestation technique written out in a very specific way. So when you see these applications, it can be very intimidating, overwhelming. It feels like, oh, they're asking me so much stuff. I've got to upload documents. I got to get this letter. Oh, sorry, this is Elaine calling me. I wouldn't take it, but she's our Zoom. So.
No, it's okay. Accent.
Oh, hi. Okay. I can put my phone on silent. Sorry about that. Everything okay, Elaine?
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, we're good. I was like, uh-oh. Okay. So when you are looking at these application forms, it can be very involved and intensive. So say you can chip away at it. Like you don't have to do it all in one piece. And normally the grants will be open for application and there'll be at least a month until the deadline. So if you start, you read the guidelines right away and you start to think about what you're going to need and slowly start to work at it. Sometimes these things come across my desk and I didn't know about that it was available. And it's like, it is due in 1 week and we want to apply for it. And that can be crazy. That's a position that I've been in more often than I'd like to admit. But prayers help and get through it. But I'd say try to give yourself as much time as possible. And so the specificity of it is that it is a lot of information and specific questions, which can feel like hard work, but it's an opportunity to really reflect on what do I really want and how am I going to do this? So it puts you in the position to problem solve. Be like, I want to do this project with my heart and soul. How? And then it asks you those questions and then you get to figure that out. And so that way, if you get that money, you are ready to go. You've already figured it out and you've already made your timeline and your budget. And so you just get to start going with your project. And by doing that process, it helps work out any false beliefs that you may have that this is too hard, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, all of that, because you are essentially challenging those false beliefs as you work through the grant writing process. And so the specific details of it, it can feel like a lot, but it's valuable. So when successful, you can receive funds to support living expenses while you're creating, to cover supplies and equipment, research time and access to resources, training, travel, honoraria. So if you are, for example, you want to work with elders for part of your project and you'd like to compensate them, give them an offering for their time, that you can give them financial offering of honoraria, or you could put in your budget for customary gifts. Something I've begun to do is to put a tobacco budget in my grant applications for giving offerings to the land and to folks who support me. And then administrative costs and hiring other types of support, and the list goes on. So if you've got a creative project and you need to spend money to make that happen, then that goes in your budget. And so it can really support you, have the freedom to be able to create what you want to create and how you want to create it. So how to apply for a grant. So you've got to determine your status. Are you an individual, a collective, or an organization? Are you an emerging, practicing, professional, or master artist? And these definitions, normally they will define them in the grant guideline. And so you'd be like, well, am I an emerging? I'm practicing, I'm making art. Am I professional? Am I emerging? What does that mean? And so Google is your friend, but also normally in the guideline, they will define those things. what are your key qualifications? So I want to know the status of your education and training, whether you've exhibited publicly, any publications that you've been in, past projects, awards. So this is all, we covered all this under your CV. So if you're applying for a grant, you're going to need your artist statement, your bio, and your CV. And so that's standard, right? When you're applying for an exhibition, when you're applying for a residency, when you're applying for a grant. So those are like foundational tools to have in your back pocket, ready to go for when these opportunities come to you. Okay. So how to apply for grant? Project planning. So what is your project idea? Like, what will you do specifically? And then why is this project important? Like, why is it important to you? Why might it be important to community, to the world? And it doesn't need to be important to the whole world, but it might be. It could just be very important to you and your own journey, and that is enough. But to get clear on why this is important, and what need is addressed, what benefits are achieved. And then who is your audience? And a grant does not have to be for artwork that is going to be shown to the world. It could just be for research. It could be that you want to create something, but you want to do it in the old ways. And so you're going to have to learn those ways. You're going to have to connect with elders and knowledge carriers and other master artists. And so it could be about learning. And so your audience, it doesn't necessarily need to be the public. And then how will you reach or engage them? And then key partners or collaborators. So I kind of went over this, whether it's mentors or if you partnered with an organization, right, when I was talking about the letter of support. And so if you, like, okay, here's an example. Through PAFNW, I taught interdisciplinary arts courses. So there's a whole bunch of other artists, and I've applied for funding through the City of Vancouver and to receive money to have an exhibition celebration of all of the artwork of those two classes. So the students, the guest instructors, myself, and wanting to pay everyone professional artist fees to participate. So we need money for that, and also money for putting frames on some of the artwork, the cost of the exhibition. And so the partners would be the other artists, the other guest instructor, professional artists, and also the institution where the organization where we are going to use the venue there. So we've partnered with another place to use the space to exhibit the artwork. So those are all would be the key partners and collaborators of that grant through the City of Vancouver to receive funds to host that celebration. So again, that's a very involved group. It's a very dynamic application where yours might be more simple. You might not have any key partners or collaborators. So identifying that. And then how long will your project take? And this is something that I am getting better at, where I believe that I can do so much in so little time, like this course, where it's a lot of information in a short amount of time. So to give yourself time and space that you need, and to, when you're writing a grant application, to over budget, to give yourself more time than you think you need, to give yourself more money than you think you need, because there's always unanticipated things that come about. And then, so yeah, how long will your project take and how much will it cost? And then grant listings, where to find them. So these are three that are go-tos of mine. And then, so First Peoples Cultural Council, FPCC, the BC Arts Council, and then also other provincial and local arts councils, and Canada Council of the Arts. So First Peoples Cultural Council actually has a partnership with the BC Arts Council. And so I'll show you, I'll talk about that where I'm going to show you their website. And then Canada Council of the Arts is a lot bigger because BC Arts Council, of course, is within British Columbia, and First Peoples Cultural Council is also within BC. So Canada Council serves a wider range of folks because it's a larger area. And so their offerings are more involved. And so I'd say that it is a step above. It's more work. It's harder. Well, that's subjective. It might not be harder for you. It's a different journey. But I'd say there's definitely more time and energy and effort into applying for Canada Council grants. So that might be something that comes later, maybe a progression. So I'm going to show you those. Yeah, I'll show you those right now. Okay, here we are on the BC Arts Council webpage, and specifically under funding. And so as you can see, there are a whole bunch of different types of funding. So I'm not going to go into all of these, but just so you know that it takes some research to find the right grant for you. And so I'd say if there's anything you're like, oh, that's probably not me, like just keep going until you got to go down the rabbit hole and find the right one. And so it takes some reflection, it takes some reading. You maybe want to know what your project is first so that you can start to eliminate. Something that I used to do is I go on, we're always talking about the applying for exhibitions. And so that was on the Alliance for Arts and Culture website. And so there's all these artist calls, all these opportunities for you to exhibit. And I'd go on there and I'd be like, oh, they want people with paintings of landscapes. And I was like, oh, well, I don't have any landscapes, but I could paint one. And I was always trying to fit in to the description as opposed to find the opportunity that was aligned with what I want to do. And when you're trying to, like, of course, you could probably do a whole bunch of different things, but that to believe and to know that the right thing will come across your path, and to not try to force it and try to go for everything. So I had this scarcity belief like that, oh, like this is the opportunity and there's not going to be another one, and I got to fit into this. And there are infinite possibilities. There are so many opportunities, and to be in alignment with what you desire to do, that there is space for your unique dream and your unique offering. So there are a lot of opportunities, and you're going to have to weed out things that don't apply to you. So here we go. Individual Arts Awards, project-based grants for artists, including young and pre-professional artists in all disciplines. So this is all of us. This is everyone here. And so let's just click on that and see where it takes us. And sorry, no results were found. So don't let that deter you. It's just because there are different deadlines. You can see that these are recently passed deadlines. So all these opportunities here, this one was finished in September, June, April, June. So then you could put on your calendar to check these out, like maybe next spring, and see if some of these, if they've put in here when they're going to open again. You could also email them and be like, you can look at this and be like, oh, this one's perfect. And you're like, do you know when this will be offered next? And then you put that in your calendar and then you can start even preparing for it. So just because it's not available now, a lot of these offerings are on a rolling intake, and they do change, especially with the pandemic, that a lot of grant offerings changed in order to cater to new unique needs. And so they're not always rolling, but just don't be afraid to reach out to them. These also, something that I learned is that these granting bodies, they receive money to disperse. And so they have an annual budget where it's like, say they get $1 million and they're going to give out this grant for 10,000 and this one for 20,000. And if they don't give out all that money, then next year they will receive less money and then their budget decreases. They want to give this money to you. They want to help you. A lot of the time, not always. I can't say that everyone is the most generous with their time and information, but I've met some incredible, not in person, but I've connected with some incredible, wonderful people who are working in the arts and they're passionate about supporting artists. And I didn't know this. I really was so intimidated by this practice, and that doesn't have to be your experience. So if you ask, you shall receive, but you must ask. So that is, I won't go too far into BC Arts Council because they don't have any active listings, but let's pop on over to First Peoples Cultural Council. If I can move this out of the way. Okay, so now we're on the First Peoples Cultural Council website. And this is specifically for their arts program funding. So FPCC has a partnership with BC Arts Council. And actually, let's go back over here and show you that. Okay. So you can apply for grants through BC Arts Council, or you can apply for the same thing through FPCC. And FPCC is an Indigenous organization, and not all of their staff are Indigenous, but there are many of them who are. And it's, to me, it's more culturally safe and culturally relevant. And so I prefer this. I actually haven't applied for anything through BC Arts Council because I always go through FPCC. There are opportunities, of course, on BC Arts Council that are not included through FPCC. But I'd say I would check FPCC first. That's just my own experience though. So go on here, Indigenous Arts Programs, and then FPCC, just so you know, has a whole bunch of initiatives. They have arts, language, and heritage. So I look at arts first, but there might be something that stands out to you in those other categories also. So Indigenous Arts Programs, and then they've got their various grant offerings. So then, okay, you're like individual artists. I'm an individual artist, so that might be for me. Sharing tradition across generations. What does that mean? And so you're going to have to do some reading. Organizations and collectives, you're like, okay, if I'm not part of an organization or collective, that one's not going to be for me. So you're just going to go in like Arts Vitality Microgrant. Again, what does that mean? So you'll have to do some research, but let's just go, we're going to go into the microgrant because I know that this one's open right now. And so let's learn more about that. It tells you a bit about it. You can go learn more. Like any website, you probably know how to work it. So I don't need to show you this, but I just want to get into like, look, there's the application deadline, January 15th, 2022. And so it says right there, it's open. So this one is for artists, collectives, and organizations to respond to unexpected circumstances and changes in the arts. And this one is relatively small. So this is a nice beginner grant for like if you wanted to start going with your first one. The only thing is it's for unexpected circumstances and changes. So a good example of this is the artist residency that I just applied for. And so this residency is you get to go and stay in a beautiful space, but you still need to pay $750 a month to be there. And it's beautiful, it's on the ocean, you get to have an exhibition, it's 4 months. So you need $750 times 4 in order to be there. And while you're there, you're gonna wanna be focusing on creating art. So you're not gonna wanna be working. I mean, your creative practice is your work. So maybe I'm trying to save up for that. And I get the residency. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I got it. I need that money now. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to take time away from, maybe I have a day job. So I might apply for this grant because it's an unexpected circumstance. It's $3,000. There's my 750 times 4, and that would maybe support me for that. So it could be for, maybe you got asked to do a project and you need materials really quickly, or you need to take a flight somewhere, that an opportunity came, you were invited to exhibit somewhere else and you need a plane ticket, you need some accommodation expenses taken care of. That's kind of what this is for. And so again, you read the guidelines, and so it's 7 pages. So again, for one grant to figure out whether it's applicable to you, you're going to have to put some time in. But it's important to read the guidelines, because I've gone and started to apply for grants and be like, oh, what does that mean? I'm like, oh, maybe I should have read all those guidelines. I got to go back and do it. So there's that. And okay, so I'm going to show you. I got to go back. Okay. This is the First Peoples Cultural Council grant portal. And so some, not always, but now you get to apply for grants online. And if it is a more established granting body like FPCC, Canada Council, they have a grant portal online. So you make an account and then you're able to apply for grants from within the portal. So for Canada Council, when you make your account, you have to put your CV and stuff in there, and they establish if you are eligible to apply for Canada Council grants. So you have to be a professional artist through their definitions to apply for Canada Council grants. So you have to apply to be able to apply. And so if you're looking at a Canada Council grant, then you need to have your portal already set up. It goes through an acceptance process, which takes, I think, 2 weeks to a month. So if you are looking at a grant and there's a deadline, you're like, oh, I'm going to go apply. You have to be accepted first within that time frame. So just to make note of that. Whereas BC Arts Council, FPCC, you just need to make an account and you're ready, you're good to go. There is eligibility, which you have to read through the guidelines, but you don't have to be accepted through this, this process of applying, if that makes sense. So FPCC, you make your account and then you're in. And so this is what it looks like when you're in there. They're constantly updating, and improving this. And so here we go. We want arts grants. Let's apply now. So it's showing all the arts grants, and these ones are all closed. And I'm going to move my Zoom out of the way so I can read that. And so this one's open, apply now. So I can show you the guidelines was that 7 pages. So you would probably read that first, and then we're going to view eligibility and apply now. So now we're in here, and it's got a whole bunch of notes, and I know that I'm eligible and I'm going to apply for this soon. I'm in my work account right now, but I also have a personal one. And so I know that I'm eligible. You'll have to read this all. There's also COVID guidelines you have to agree to. And then, okay. By checking this box, I confirm that my proposed project meets the above requirements and eligibility criteria. Yes. I confirm that I've read the COVID statement. I have. Are you 19 years of age or older? Yes. If requested, I agree to provide proof of BC residency. And in this case, I'm an organization because it's through work, but you will likely check individual. So confirm eligibility and start application. So here we go. And then you are in the application form, and everything that you need, it tells you what you need in here. So you just go through, oh, now you see my address. Oh, that's my old address. I don't live there anymore. It's okay. So it pre-populates that from your account, I guess. I thought this was all going to be blank because it's a new application. But so it asks you some things, and you have to fill them all in. There you go. You got to upload your bio. It's asking for your bio, your CV, or your resume. But I've got a bio and a CV. So in the past, I've uploaded them both. And then, so all this information in here. So if you just follow all these steps and fill in all these boxes, then you're good to go. And so I'd say the most challenging or time-consuming things are the budget. I'll show you that. So in here, this one is a smaller grant, right? So I think they've updated this, but the Canada Council once, for example, the budget worksheet is big. Sometimes they can be many tabs, many pages. You might be applying for a lot of money over the course of several years. Like maybe you've got a long-term project grant for 2 or 3 years. So you've got to budget out all of that. But coming back to where we are now, we've got just the smaller budget, and it's showing you the type of things that you might want money for. And so you're going to describe, okay, other artists' fees. So maybe you're going to pay yourself an artist fee for your time and energy. You might pay your mentor, other fees and salaries. Maybe I'm going to have a guest artist come help me, and I pay them elder honoraria. So there's that. And then this is the money that you are asking for from FPCC, and then funds from other sources. So maybe this is, I need $5,000, or pardon me, this grant is only $3,000, or $5,000 for organizations, $3,000 for individuals. So let's say individuals, $3,000. Maybe I want $500 for myself, and $300 is going to come from FPCC, and $200 is going to come from the gallery is paying me an artist's fee to be part of this exhibition. And so I'm going to include that in there so that when you get to the bottom, then my subtotal is going to be the amount that I'm asking for FPCC, and then the subtotal of funds from other sources. Maybe I have a bit of money that I'm contributing also, and then it'll give you your total expenses. So then you've got all your expenses there, and it's going to want your revenues. So do you have another government grant? So see, it's a big project and you've applied for another grant. It can get complicated. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to have these. You might have none of this. You might have no revenue. That's why you're asking for the money. So it's okay if you don't fill out any of these. But in kind, especially for Indigenous folks, like, what if you have been out harvesting materials And what if you're going to be creating something, but you have taken the time to go be out on the land and to collect that cedar that you're then going to be weaving for this project, then an in-kind contribution might be like, say, $1,000 that you have contributed your time, and you didn't buy those materials, but they are valuable. And so you'd say an in-kind contribution is these materials, and I went and harvested them, and yes, it's confirmed, and it's $1,000 or whatever. So some of it can be kind of subjective, but to value your contribution. And if you are using art supplies that you already have, what are they worth? That can be an in-kind contribution. So it helps to show that you have some sort of revenue, just that you're not relying completely on this grant. It shows that you've just put in some effort to do this in different capacities. Again, it's not an obligation. Some grants do. They will fund, say your project is $1,000, and they will fund 70% of it. So they'll give you $700, but you've got to come up with that additional 30% on your own. So then you're going to have to show that 30% revenue. Not always, and that's normally for like big grants. So just starting out, it doesn't have to be too complicated, but just so you know that that is a thing. So then it'll show your total expenses and your total revenues, and then the amount that you're asking FPCC for. And so don't be afraid to ask for the maximum. Like that City of Vancouver grant I was talking about, I asked for the maximum and I didn't get it. I got maybe about 75% of what I asked for. And then it was like, okay, well, I got to figure out that other 25%. But that's the only one that I've ever applied for that I haven't gotten the whole ask. And so that was just a new, interesting learning experience. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask for the whole amount. So let's go out of there. That's just a little example of budgeting, and we're almost at the halfway mark. Okay. It'll be break time soon, and I want to show you. Okay, so supporting documents. Upload at least one current letter of support. And so I talked a bit about that, getting a letter of support, someone who knows about your project, knows about your practice, or might be a contributing partner. And this is something wonderful where you get to humble yourself and ask someone who maybe has been a mentor to you, or like who has supported your journey, to write a letter expressing that they support you. And these letters have been so moving, like it's kind of like nerve-wracking to ask for them. And then you receive it, and it is such a gift. It is really like, oh, wow, I am supported. And so that's just, it might, and again, one perspective is like, oh, this is work and I got to do this thing, but it's such a gift to receive those letters of support. And yeah, it's been so moving, and I'm so grateful for them. And then if you have someone who you have an established rapport and relationship with, then, and you know that you're going to be applying for multiple projects on an ongoing basis. I've got a mentor of mine who I continue to ask. And so they have a template letter, and then they just change it. So every time I ask them for a letter of support, they just change the project details around, but the details about me and how they know about my creative practice, they're in there so that it doesn't take so much time. So you might set that up with someone if you have an established relationship with someone who can provide you continued support. And so this, again, this is a much smaller grant, but normally there is a work plan or a timeline where, just scrolling in here, And that's not in here because these ones are short, like they're like, you need this money right away for this thing. And so it's not over a long, like 1 year time period where you need to write in, okay, in April, I'm doing this. In May, I'm doing this. And for the whole year. And so you create a project timeline. So it'd be similar to the budget worksheet, but it's a project plan. And so you get to fill that out. So this is just an example of a smaller FPCC grant in the portal. This is like often the grants are coded. So this is IAPM, Indigenous Arts Program Micro Grant, I'm guessing. And so like a grant I have now, like this is the long name, but then they get a code and then some number. So this number would be specific to my application. So then if you're emailing them asking about things, you'd be like, oh, like say you get the grant, then you can refer to your grant under that coding. Yeah, so there's a lot you can go into, but that just kind of helps you out. Knowing the grant portal situation there. So I'm just going to show you Candidate Council quickly. Here we are on the Candidate Council for the Arts website. And here we are at grants. And so they have recently changed their grant titles and whatnot. So they have these funky names: explore and create, engage and sustain, creating, knowing and sharing the arts and cultures of First Nations, Inuit and Métis peoples, supporting artistic practice, arts across Canada, arts abroad. So you'd be like, okay, explore and create, engage and sustain. How do we know? And so again, you're going to do a lot of reading. And so you go under this heading, and then there's more headings. And so, yeah, there's a lot. Why isn't that going? Okay. So this is explore and create. It tells you what this one's about. And then there's opportunities for professional development, for research and creation, for having a concept and taking it to the realization stage, and for artist-driven organization. So under that one heading, under that one program, there's different subheadings. So you can apply for different things within that heading. So you can get pretty detailed and specific. So there's actually a lot of opportunities in them. Some of them have ongoing deadlines where you can apply anytime and they give money out a couple of times a year. And some of them have set deadlines. So there is, with grants, there isn't really like one way of like, this is how it's done and this is how it works. There's kind of a framework, and then it depends. Not only there's going to be changes within the different organization you apply through, but for the specific grant itself, and understanding that, I'm going to stop sharing here. Understanding that there are people behind these websites. There are people who are managing these programs. And so Canada Council is a very large organization, and then that explore and create, there's probably one person managing it, and then there's staff managing those different grants. And so you go in there and it's just like, oh my gosh, where am I? Like, what one is for me? And you can email people, you can call people, and you can ask questions, and you don't have to like figure everything out on your own, and to give yourself time, and that it is a lot of work, but it pays off. So what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And we're going to come back from the break, and I'm going to tell you, that was all like the very like logical side of it. And then we're going to come back. We're going to go into more the spiritual side. I'm going to tell you a story about writing grants and how the right thing will flow to you. Anyways, 10-minute break, back at 7:11. Okay, see you all soon. Hey, welcome back, everyone. So we're going to do a visualization meditation, but I'm going to tell a story first. Okay. So I had quite a synchronistic realization last night as I was finalizing the slides for tonight's class. And a while back, like several years ago, I took a grant writing for artists course through Emily Carr Continuing Studies. And I was like, okay, I'm an artist, maybe this will help me at some point. And so took the course, and it was a couple days, and we filled out these worksheets and whatnot. And then I was working like at an investment firm at the time. And then I ended up leaving Turtle Island and just left everything behind and went traveling. I didn't have an art studio, and I ended up in Egypt, and I was essentially homeless and traveling with no money, like bartering and on the kindness of strangers. And so Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way, one of the practices I think I mentioned earlier in this course is the morning pages, that you write stream of consciousness every morning, 3 pages. And normally it's just a bunch of traffic and gobbledygook, for the lack of a better word, mishmash. And you don't really think about it. You just write and get it out so that throughout the rest of the day, the rest of your thoughts are clearer and more creative. And so I was doing this practice, and after a while, I would start to remember my dreams. And after a while, sometimes a poem would come out. And then I started to, sometimes I would write a question. I write in cursive writing. And sometimes I would write a question, and my handwriting would change to all capitals printing, and I'd receive an answer. I was like, oh, I think I'm channeling. I didn't have a word for it then. And I was kind of I was like, what? And so, but now I trust it. But then it was something that was new, and I was like, what's going on here? But I was essentially homeless, and I'd be like in survival mode, being like, how am I going to get money? Like, what am I going to do? And be writing my fears, getting all that traffic out in the morning. And my writing had changed, and I'd receive the answer, grants. I was like, I'm in Egypt. Like, how is that going to help me? And I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust the message I was receiving. I didn't understand the answer at the time. And I had taken that grant workshop years before, and I didn't have an art studio. I didn't have a home. So like, how is this helpful to me? But it kept coming. And I was like, okay, if I ever return to Turtle Island, I had no plan to come back. That I guess that'll help me. So then it went out of my consciousness. I returned, and synchronistically, I began working at Pacific Association, but in the language program. So again, didn't make any connection to this art grant workshop I took, but I ended up writing grants for the language program. And the first one I wrote was so hard. It was so hard. One of the hardest things I've ever done. It was at the beginning of lockdown, and it was to keep the money for the program that I was working for going. And I'd never written a grant application before. And in there, how I showed you those boxes that you're filling out information. And some of them I'm like, okay, I've got that info, I'm writing it away. And then you get to one and you're stuck, and you're like, I don't have this answer. And it would bring up insecurity in me, that like, I'm not smart enough. This is too hard. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I'm worthless. Like all of this internalized like negativity, insecurity. And so it brought up my false beliefs from my upbringing and all of that. And I had to work through it. And so I was crying writing this grant application, like, I can't do this, but I have to do it. And it's so hard. And if I didn't have to do that, I would have walked away from it. But it was like, there are students involved and want to keep this program going. And so I pushed through the intense discomfort. And when I allowed myself to, instead of just like being in the anxiety or in the insecurity, when I allowed myself to just cry, be like, I feel scared, I feel overwhelmed. After I cried, the answer would come. After I released that blockage, then I would have clarity. And the answer for the box that I need to fill in, it came. And is anyone else having trouble hearing? Jelena, are you having sound issues? It might be your connection then. I would suggest maybe, oh, it's not my phone either. I just finished turning up the volume. Nobody else is having issues with sound?
No, it's all good over here.
Thank you.
It's good on my end.
Jelena, I might suggest maybe logging out and logging back in if you need to. It might be your connection. Yeah, I'm sorry that you're experiencing difficulty. And again, it's being recorded. So yeah, I would cry and then I would have clarity and I'd receive the answer that I needed. And so I submitted that grant application and it was so hard. I got the grant and then I got the next grant. And then I wrote grants and I switched from working in language to arts. And then I was like, okay, I'm helping myself through these grants. I want to pay people a living wage subsidy to take these courses. So every grant, I've now pushed my beliefs of what I think is possible and be like, what is the reality that I want to create? I want to live in a world where artists are financially abundant. And so instead of being like, the world sucks, and be like, I have the opportunity to create that. So I'm not only creating art, my life is creation. And through the grant process, I am creating the reality that I want to live in. And so last night, I'm preparing to get these course slides all ready to go for you all. And through all my travels, getting rid of all my stuff, I've somehow saved these notes from this grant writing course that I took way back when. So I'm referring to them and I'm putting it in the slides. And it's like, okay, determine your status. Are you an individual, collective, organization? And it's like, what is your project idea? What is this? Why is this project important? Who is your audience? And so I'm typing out the questions. And then I was like, what did I even write back then? And I wrote, I want to reconnect with my Inuit heritage through my artwork. I plan to travel to Rankin Inlet and collect stories from Inuit community and my relatives and use this to contribute to my artwork and to learn my language. And I have that grant now. I have a scholarship through FPCC to learn Inuit sewing, storytelling, and language from my great auntie in Rankin Inlet, and with funds to travel to Rankin Inlet next summer. And I didn't realize this. And I was like, what is the date? When did I take that course? And I couldn't find the specific dates, but I found this is a resource provided in the course from October 2011. So sometime around 2011, 10 years ago, I wrote that. It took me 10 years to get that grant, but I didn't consciously think of it. It just aligned. So you're taking this course now, there's a lot of information in it. It might take 10, 20, 30, it might take 2 minutes. You might be like, after this, you're writing your grant application. But that if I had done that project then, I was a different person. And now is the exact aligned time for me to be embarking on this journey. And so I didn't realize it, and when I was even writing the grant application for this scholarship, I didn't even recall writing this 10 years ago. But the takeaway is, write down your dreams, write down your ideas, because it's unconscious. It can be this unconscious desire that is just in our heart. And then we make the unconscious conscious. So that's why the morning pages and journaling, it helps all that traffic, it helps make the unconscious conscious. And then you're taking it from the unseen realms, and you're bringing it from that unconscious into the physical plane. And so when you write it, it's now in the physical plane with us, instead of in the other realms, in the spirit world or the dream world. And so when you write it down, you're bringing it into this realm with us. And then when you speak it, you're giving it a vibration, you're giving it power, you're giving it energy. And what we focus on, we create. And so the more you focus on what you want to create, the more you're connecting to it, the more you're calling it in. And so it took me 10 years to truly connect to that desire and to just magnetically attract it. And so just to write your dreams, and that they will come to you in the right moment. And there was a lot in me that didn't believe that I was worthy of that or that I could do that. And so all of those blockages, like when I'm sitting there writing those boxes, crying, like, I don't know the answer, right? It's releasing everything that keeps me from believing I can do it. And so I've released it in order to be in the position to be like, okay, I'm ready. So don't need to push yourself. It will all come in divine timing, and just focus on the next right action and the next right action, right? It's like the staircase. You're not going to go from the bottom stair up to the top unless you've got really long legs, but you're going to go step by step. And it's often we're like, our big dream is way out there, and we're like, how am I going to get there? Just one step at a time, and you'll get there when you're ready. And if there's anything I can do to support, do not hesitate to reach out to me, or to anyone else that you think can help you. And especially with creatives, we want to see you thrive. And so that there might be folks in your circle that you never really thought of collaborating with or asking to write that letter of support. And often it's a wonderful way to connect with other folks. And it's a gift to them that you're going to ask them. It can be quite an honor. So that being said, we're going to do this visualization so that you can align with perhaps those unconscious desires. Maybe you already have a project idea. Maybe you have 10. Or maybe you're just like, I just want to create what I want to create, and I want to have the time, energy, and resources to do that. And so we're going to go on this short visualization journey that might provide you some clarity. And then we're going to journal just a few sentences on your project idea and why it matters, and then pop into breakout rooms so that you can share that. And so I'm going to screen share here. Does anyone have any questions or comments about anything that we've covered up until this point? Okay. So I invite you to take a comfortable seat. And if it is comfortable, available, and accessible to you, to sit with your spine in a straight line and maybe your feet flat on the floor. And that's so that your breath can flow freely, that your energy is all in one line, so you're not blocked or holding or crunched. So if it's comfortable, if it feels feels right to you, sit so that your spine's in one line. And again, if it feels safe to you to close your eyes. And another way is you can follow along by journaling or drawing. You don't have to sit with your eyes closed and visualize. Maybe you receive messages in the form of words, or you want to reflect through images. And so meditation doesn't have to be sitting on a pillow in silence, in like no movement at all. Like there's a saying that like, oh, the master is the one who can be bitten by a mosquito and just like withstand it. But that's not word for word, but that's paraphrasing. But it doesn't have to be like that. So to give yourself what you need to be comfortable, and you don't have to have your eyes closed if you don't want to. And so, and then to connect to your breath. And then I'm just going to listen to my voice and visualize this short journey. So just checking in, maybe doing a brief body scan, feeling the crown of your head, releasing any tension you might be holding in your body from the top of your head, down your forehead, your eyebrows, and that space between your brows that maybe sometimes there can be some lines there. And see if you can maybe relax that space, smooth out those lines. Maybe feel your eyeballs in your sockets. Just relaxing your eyes. And maybe if you do have your eyes closed, focusing on that space between your brows, or maybe the tip of your nose. And then relaxing down the back of your head, down your neck, behind your ears, relaxing through your jaw. And maybe just resting your tongue gently behind your teeth. And connecting to your breath, relaxing through your nose and sinuses. And with your next inhale, you inhale, lengthen, and exhale, deepen. Relaxing down through your shoulders, your chest and forearms. Releasing any tension you might feel in your elbow joints, in your forearms, and your wrists. Relaxing your hands and fingers. Releasing any tension you might be holding in your chest and shoulders, your upper and lower back, and relaxing your belly. And just really relaxing in your belly and down through your hips and your pelvis. Noticing where your sit bones connect to your chair or the floor, the earth, whatever you're seated upon. And relaxing down through your thigh bones, the biggest, heaviest bones in your body. Releasing any tension you might be holding in your knees, down your shins and calves. Relaxing your ankles and the many, many bones in your feet. Relaxing from heel to toe tip. And just scanning your body, noticing anywhere where it might feel sticky, and sending some breath, some fresh oxygen to that space. And sending some loving awareness there, and exhaling, releasing anything that doesn't serve. And I now invite you to connect to 3 to 5 things in your everyday life that you are grateful for. 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for, with the awareness that what we focus on, we can create and attract more of. What we're grateful for breeds more of what we're grateful for. And I now invite you to connect to 3 to 5 things in your work life that you're grateful for. And connecting to that word work, what that means to you. It's your creative work, or it could be work out on the land within your family, community, or it could be your job, profession, vocation. So whatever that word means to you, 3 to 5 things in your work life that you're grateful for. And I now invite you to connect to 3 to 5 things about yourself that you are grateful for. Acknowledging your own love, compassion, courage, humility, truth, honesty, wisdom, and respect. 3 to 5 things about yourself that you are grateful for. And I now invite you to envision your life 3 years in the future. And we often overestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years. We underestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year. So meeting in the middle, visualizing your life 3 years in the future, and connecting to maybe where are you? Who are you with? How do you feel in your body, in your emotions? What are the sensations, the colors, the textures, the temperature? Do you smell anything? Do you taste anything? What is the touch? Connecting to how you feel emotionally. You excited, peaceful, joyful, passionate, relaxed. Knowing that you can come back to this vision at any time and that it can change. And maybe you see lots of detail, feel lots of sensations, or maybe it's a connection to just one feeling. And that this is fluid, and you can revisit this space and create in this space whenever you like. Now invite you to envision your perfect day. So upon waking up in the morning, how do you feel in your physical body, in your mental body, in your emotional body, and in your spiritual body? How do you start your day? You journal with morning pages, meditate, any movement, exercise? Do you go straight for the coffee? Or do you lounge in bed? Do you take a beloved pet outside? How do you start your day, your perfect day? Again, who are you with, if anyone? Do you have a morning routine, maybe some hygiene, some nourishment? Are you preparing to go anywhere, see anything? Are you planning to stay in? In your perfect day, how does it unfold? Again, connecting to that word work. Do you work? Do you focus on a creative practice? Are you maybe taking a class? Do you teach a class? Maybe you picking young ones up from a class. Maybe there's absolutely no class. Are you relaxing somewhere out in nature? Are you in a beautiful art studio, creating away? How are you nourishing yourself? Who are you spending time with? Towards the end of the day, how do you wind down, reflect, relax, and prepare for a deep, nourishing, relaxing, peaceful sleep? And again, knowing that this perfect day can change just as you change and grow, but you can revisit it anytime and create in this space. And I now invite you to call upon a higher power, whether that is of energy, of a great creator, or of the higher power within yourself, whatever that means to you. Calling upon this higher power to bless you, to go forth and have a perfect day each and every day. When you're ready, on the count of 3, I invite you to open your eyes if you have them closed, feeling wide awake, in perfect health, feeling better than before. 1, 2, 3. When you're ready, enter back into the space together, feeling wide awake, in perfect health, feeling better than before. Okay. So I now invite you to write maybe a couple of things that came to you through that visualization journey. And that may be in part of envisioning your life in the near distant future and reflecting on what a perfect day might feel to you, that might help inform a project idea, something that you might wish to eventually apply for funding to support you in that reality that you wish to create. And so without any pressure, I'm just taking a moment to maybe jot down some ideas, some dreams, some wishes that came to you. And again, if it's nothing that is fully formed, and it might be very specific, you might have clear direction, or it might just be, I wish to continue creating and I wish to have the freedom to do that. And then you can start to narrow it down, asking, okay, well then what do I wish to create? How much time do I want to spend doing that? What tools, what resources do I need to support that? So you can start to clarify from just an innate desire to feel supportive and creative and at ease. So a few minutes of journaling, and then if a project idea comes to you, a few sentences of your project idea and why it matters. I think I have that somewhere back here. Yeah, so you don't have to write all of these, maybe just the first two there. And just journal this for maybe 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, and then we'll pop into breakout rooms and have the opportunity to share. How's everyone doing? Do you want a few more moments or have you got something jotted down?
I've got some stuff jotted down myself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing a thumbs up there. Okay, let's pop into breakout rooms and we'll do that for about, say, 8 minutes. Yeah, I think that's the time we're gonna have. And so you can just share your either part of your future vision or your perfect day or your specific project idea, if that is clear to you. Okay, I'll have smaller breakout rooms so that everyone will have a chance to share. What just happened?
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Okay.
This is a smaller group, so I just popped in here.
Okay. I was just saying to Cindy that I visualized being in a vast field with like trees blowing in the wind, but it wasn't cold. It was like summertime. And coming to the realization that I don't really leave the city a lot. And a lot of my best artwork have been photographs, like taking photographs of nature in particular. Like I think the last time I went anywhere was Denman Island, and I had tons of photographs from the beaches and trees and stuff, and I made it like a bunch of cards and had sold them at different like Christmas sales and stuff like that. So but I haven't done that in a long time, and it really brought me a lot of joy just kind of wandering with my camera and seeing the world. So I think I want to get back to that, but I'm not even sure how that would translate to a project necessarily. Just to get out of town. I find the city kind of somewhat stifling sometimes. So yeah, anyways.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny because I decided to write notes when you first started talking, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to take this as like a sign to add to what I already was visualizing. And I was visualizing getting ready to go out of town, that I had like a camera around my neck. Like I usually don't like putting things around my neck, but I had that in my visualization, and I understood that I was going to be taking photographs and recording sound, singing, and also I think I was just going to be recording like nature sounds as well. So it seemed like I had a microphone, and that was part of my visualization. And then when I was thinking of, you know, in the moment, like thinking about what I was seeing and experiencing, I just felt so like completely stress-free. And I was thinking about how like recently I've moved home. And so sometimes when I'm in the town itself, I don't feel very happy or excited about it. But as soon as I'm getting ready to leave town and go, it's usually because I'm going to go do something cultural or go be with the land or be with people or be on my own. And it always feels really good. Like it just feels like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And then the in-town part is kind of stressy. But in my visualization, I was in town and I felt fine with it. There was one part where at the very beginning, I was about 30 minutes outside of town and I was playing in the water. So I liked how you said you had like a vast field with tall trees and it was windy and it was summer, because in mine it was summer as well.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and I didn't think of a project. It felt like I was just more just appreciating my life and just going to go do something that I enjoy.
I think that's what our lives are supposed to feel like. Like
Yeah.
even the word work, I'm really like losing it in my vocabulary. I'm like, I don't work, I create. And even the word, using the terminology of the grant, like it's a project grant, but like you need to use the language when you're applying, but it doesn't have to feel that way when you're carrying it out. So that's a really wonderful, thank you for bringing that to me, because that I think would be something to share with the group, that yeah, it can be this natural flow, and it doesn't need to feel like a project, that you can receive support to just be living and creating.
Nice.
Your project sounds super cool. Going to be with your auntie up north, like how amazing is that? I'm excited for you, and I'm not having anything to do with this.
Well, I want to film it, but when I think about being on the land, even you start talking, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Like there's something there, just the land that is waiting, and it moves me to tears every time. So I think I'm just gonna be a puddle when I first step out there. But that I want it also like, just as you said, like it doesn't feel like a project. It just feels like I need to go and connect and do this thing, and feel at peace. And then that will just be inspiring in its own right. But part of that is I want to document it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, like it's I've got the grant, but it still feels like this thing out there in the future. So the visualization really helps, because you feel it in your body. You really like you go there. And so then you've been there. And so you don't feel this need, this scarcity, like I need this thing in order to feel peace. I need this thing in order to feel happy. It's like, oh, I've been there and I filled myself with that feeling. Oh, I have that feeling. So now that desire, I'm a match to it because the feeling's in me, and then I'm just calling it closer. So to visit that, not just like the idea, the project, the what, it's the feeling. But I should probably pop out of here because we're past time and call everyone back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I was talking, but I was on mute. Folks are returning from the breakout rooms. I should be back in just about 30 seconds, I think. Okay. I think everyone's back now. Yep. Okay. So just a reminder that you can speak your vision into reality. Words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Sound is vibration. When you speak your dreams and visions aloud, you're giving them resonance and power. And if you feel insecure or stuck, coming up with ideas or feeling pressure, just allow that feeling and the associated emotions. Is what you resist persists. You try to push away the discomfort and it's just going to keep persisting. But if you surrender to it and just be like, okay, I feel uncomfortable, then you can start to move through it and it can start to dissolve. And so this is all, the grant writing process is an opportunity to begin to clear any blockages, gain clarity and direction, and start to call your dreams in this potential to create what you want and how you want to do that. And so your week 6 assignment is, if you're at the point of feeling ready, to create a grant portal account. So either on the FPCC website, to go on there and get it going. So that way, if a grant comes up, you've already got the account and you're ready to apply. And if you are really ready, you can go and start to make a Canada Council one. And when I first applied through Canada Council, I wasn't ready to write a grant, but I thought, okay, I will want this eventually. And then I got accepted. I got accepted as a professional artist. I didn't get accepted as an Indigenous artist. So I wasn't making Indigenous art at the time. And so now my CV reflects more work that's in alignment with reclaiming my culture and that being reflected through my artwork. And so I'm going to reapply and see if that's applicable. But again, just to have that there so that when you're ready, and then you can just update it, make the changes that you need to. So I invite you to create a grant portal account, whether that's through FPCC Canada Council, BC Arts Council, or somewhere else. Review the various grant opportunities and maybe find one that applies to you in your art and your practice, your vision, and then note the deadline. Maybe it's open right now and there's an upcoming deadline, maybe not. Or maybe it's on an annual basis and maybe you don't apply this year, but it's something that maybe you'll apply for down the road, or even just the thought of applying for it, like through this workshop that I took, filling out this form, It wasn't for a specific grant. It was just for an idea. And then maybe you'll forget about it and you'll get the grant in 10 years or in 2 months. So just to start planning your application if you wish to. And so as a note, next week is our final class. And so this is the end of our lessons. And then next week you have the option to give a very short final presentation. If you want to share with the group your artist statement or your bio, or to give us an update. Maybe you have started to apply for an exhibition, or you found one that excites you, or a residency or a grant. And you just want to be like, hey, I found this thing and I'm excited and I've got this project idea. And just to help speak it into reality. So this is completely optional, and it's about celebrating you as an artist and your joy and excitement for a potential opportunity if you wish to. And then also we're going to have a guest speaker, an artist zooming in, who'll be speaking for about 20 to 30 minutes on their creative journey. So just to share some words of wisdom and inspiration. So that will open our class for the first 30 minutes or so. And then we will have presentations and a break, and then there'll be a course evaluation / self-assessment. And then that is the end of our journey. I cannot believe that. So thank you all. Does anyone have any questions before we go? Or actually, let's call that the end of class, and then I'll stick around if anyone has any questions. So thank you so much. And I hope that you enjoyed connecting in the breakout rooms. Feel free to email me with any further questions, and I'll be here for further questions also, but have a beautiful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. ᦤᖅતાᵉ.
Good night.
Bye.